On June 12 at Évry, Arazi, a blushing groom colt out of the Northern Dancer mare Danseur Fabuleux, destroys a field of 7 in the listed Prix La Flèche for Mr. Alan Paulson.
Arazi's performance in the Prix du Bois stamped him as the best juvenile in France. Previously the winner of the Prix La Flèche, a listed race, he, a result of that success, had to concede weight all round. Arazi just held Steinbeck at bay, with Worldwide snapping at their heels.
On the outside looks a big threat. Steinbeck just being niggled in behind them from Valley Road as Arazi moves up now to apply the pressure to Worldwide. It's Worldwide on the inside of Arazi, who's cantering. Then behind them, being hard-ridden, is Steinbeck trying to get after this leader, now followed by Valley Road. But the leader on the outside is Arazi, puts his neck out now and goes about a half length in front of Worldwide. Just in behind them, Steinbeck running on fairly well, but it's Arazi in front. Steinbeck finishing late, but Arazi too strong and got there from Steinbeck. Third then was Worldwide, followed then by Valley Road.
When Alan Paulson's Arazi won the Prix de la Salamandre at Longchamp last month, he became the 4th horse following Irish River, Green Forest and Hector Protector to win 3 of France's great 2-year-old races in recent years. A victory in the Ciga Grand Criterium would make Arazi only the 3rd horse to complete the Grand Slam, and the first to do so since his sire, Blushing Groom, swept the board in 1976. When the chestnut colt lined up for the Prix Robert Papa, he had already won 2 races, the listed Prix La Flèche at Évry and the 5-furlong Group 3 Prix du Bois at Longchamp. In the 5.5-furlong Robert Papa, he had to squeeze through a narrow gap before quickening a length and a half clear of his field. The second at Maison Lafitte was the English-trained colt Showbrook, who on his previous start had won the July Stakes at Newmarket. Third was the Sheikh Mohammed-owned Steinbeck, who on his next start in early September won the Prix de la Rochette at Longchamp on a disqualification. Watched by his Californian-based owner, Arazi showed a new maturity at Deauville, cantering home 3 lengths clear of the small field in the 6-furlong Prix Mornay Agence Française. The second at Deauville was Kenbu, a Kenmar filly trained like Arazi by Francois Boutin, who's very highly regarded. Third was another Sheikh Mohammed-owned colt, Lion Cavern. Back at Longchamp and over 7 furlongs, he looked better still in the Salamandre, bursting away from his rivals in a few strides before being eased down to win by 5 lengths. Behind him in the Salamandre came Made of Gold, a horse trained by Mohammed Mubarak in Newmarket, who'd finished second to Dr. Davis on his previous start at Goodwood. Just how good is Arazi? We asked his trainer Francois Boutin, who has now trained 11 Salamandre winners and the top juveniles Nonalalco, Miesque, Machiavellian and Hector Protector.
And as they race through the first furlong, Made of Gold with the red cap is the first to go on. Arazi with the blue and white star sleeve jacket, but now Miss Bluebird in the yellow colours on the outside comes through to take it up. It is Miss Bluebird in the lead from Made of Gold in the red cap second. Then Arazi just checked there back in 3rd place, followed by Silver Kite in the red sleeves, and then behind that one is Cardoon in the maroon sleeve jacket. Colorific is one of the back markers as they make their first turn, and Miss Bluebird going on. Miss Bluebird the leader by about a length to Made of Gold on the rails in second. Arazi is back in 3rd now with Silver Kite 4th with the striped hat. And then just behind these is Cardoon, but Made of Gold leading and stretching them a good pace. Made of Gold as they make their final turn from Miss Bluebird in the yellow. Then Arazi's in behind them in third, and behind that one is Cardoon 4. Colorific tries to pick up next to the rails, but Made of Gold makes the best of his way home from Miss Bluebird in second. And now Arazi is pulled to the outside to make his run, but Made of Gold has got first one on him. But here comes Arazi, and look at that acceleration. He's really powering down the track, and Arazi quickly bursts clear. They're inside the final furlong now. And Arazi clear of Made of Gold, with back in third Silver Kite, but it's Arazi now striding well clear as they race inside the final half furlong. And Arazi coming well clear of Made of Gold and up towards the line. A very classy performance by Arazi. Made of Gold second.
You can see them swinging on down there. Number 2 is Codebreaker. There's number 3, Arazi. I agree with Bruff. He's not the most impressive horse to look at, but his record is marvellous. We're back now with Seattle Rhyme, and there's Silver Kite, one of 2 animals that Arazi defeated last time in the Salamandre. And there's Rainbow Corner. He's a fine horse and a Grand Walker by Rainbow Quest out of Kingscote. 2 very good horses that Jeremy Tree used to train. Mr. Abdullah obviously bred that one. And just remind you that we're not actually on our pictures, we're giving you the pictures from the French feed, so if we're chopping and changing, it's not because we're trying to annoy you, it's we're simply passing on what we've been fed. Arazi on a roll, to say the least. His last performance was in the Prix de la Salamandre. He looked good prior to that. He was sensational in this. Remember, Made of Gold over on the rails, who finishes second, went on to take one of our leading races for 2-year-olds last week, the William Hill the Brent Walker Royal Lodge Stakes. But Arazi, who'd looked fast over 6 furlongs, over 7, well, there was no hint of any stamina problems. The one question mark against him was he did wander right there. Look, his jockey hitting him down the shoulder to try and keep him straight. He began his challenge on the outside, but finished on the far rail. But you're nitpicking there, aren't you? He's gone and put 5 lengths between himself and the others. Unless he can't act on this somewhat softer surface, it really does look a gift for him here. As for next year, well, Hector Protector carried all before him last season. He was by the same sire, Blushing Groom. He trained on and took the French Guineas, but one has to say that he wasn't an exceptional horse this year. Indeed, although Blushing Groom was a good horse at 3, he was also at his peak as a juvenile. Turned out in wonderful condition. Gerald Mosse, who, as we said earlier in the afternoon, is having a fantastic season. Basically came back here this afternoon to ride this horse. He's now employed by Patrick Biancon in Hong Kong. Went there for the Hong Kong dollars, plenty of them, no doubt, but back here for this particular horse. Pat Edery felt he was very unlucky to be disqualified on Rainbow Corner. Rainbow Corner, undefeated, won both his starts. Upton Company here was disqualified after beating a horse that Steve Cawthon rode last time on this track over this distance, so gets the trip and is more experienced now. Beat Steinbeck, was odds-on so to do. Beat him a short neck, and then the placings were reversed. And don't let's forget St Jovite, who wears blue and white colours, the Irish challenger. Again, he's got to improve, but he's a good long striding animal. And we have latest betting for you. Arazi shortening all the time. Rainbow Corner, second favourite. Seattle Rhyme, third favourite. I won't bother to try and dissect the fractions for you. We'll update you with that later on. Here's GG for the Grand Criterium.
And the stalls burst open, and indeed they are puffy, and it's Arazi leading. Arazi going on, having to do all his own work at this stage. Seattle Rhyme in the blue bandage behind, but it's now St Jovite, the Irish one, that's come through to take up the work and do the donkey work for Arazi. This really class horse, he really does devour the ground. Back in third, Silver Kite, the red sleeves on the outside. Seattle Rhyme is showing in 4, a length and a half back to Codebreaker in the check, and Rainbow Corner just the back marker. That's Silver Kite and Seattle Rhyme, and Rainbow Corner still the back marker. But St Jovite, they come down to the halfway stage. St Jovite leading by a couple of lengths to Arazi showing in second, and then making ground up on the outside of the pack is Seattle Rhyme, travelling powerfully. The rails, the striped jacket, Silver Kite, and at this stage Rainbow Corner, Pat Edery pulled wide. They've still got one more bend to take, and it's St Jovite leading, St Jovite in the lead. You can see they're cutting up a little bit of turf here, but they're getting through it, reports Cash Asmussen, and now it's Arazi that goes on. As they head round the final turn, it's Arazi in the lead, Seattle Rhyme, the yellow cap on the right, keeping in company. Back to St Jovite racing third, looking keeping one pace. Here comes Rainbow Corner, the pink cap on the outside. Co-Breaker's outclassed, but look at this. This is Arazi going on by a couple of lengths. Seattle Ryan's after him, trying to get closer, but he has been annihilated by Arazi. He's taken this class field apart as Arazi is stretched to a mile for the first time, but it holds no terrors for Arazi, who's coming home well clear and stretching to the line. It's going to be Arazi who is the winner. Arazi is the winner. It's very close for second between Seattle Rhyme and Rainbow Corner, second, third, St. Jovite 4, and then Co-Breaker and Silver Kite were 5 and 6, and the result then of this Ciga Grand Criterium, a Group 1 race, has been won by number 3, Arazi, in the colours of Mr. Alan Paulson, trained here in France by Francois Boutin, ridden by Gerald Mosse. This horse is really electrifying. It was a very, very good performance indeed. It's going to be close for second between Seattle Rhyme and Rainbow Corner, and it looks on our evidence there as if Rainbow Corner has got there from Seattle Rhyme, with back in fourth St. Jovite. It's a close call then for second and third, but I think this afternoon we've seen an extraordinarily good horse in Arazi, who came home and justified the odds.
Number 11, Arazi, the European champion 2-year-old, bred by Buffalo Bills owner Ralph Wilson. The colt was purchased as a weanling by Alan Paulson for $350,000. When Paulson entered him in the Keeneland yearling sale, the bids weren't high enough, so he sent him to France to race. Now that he's reeled off 6 consecutive wins, the bids are high enough. Sheikh Mohammed just purchased half interest in Arazi for $5 million, and a good performance today could bring him back for the Derby.
Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and it will go a long way in picking the early favorite for this year's Derby. 2 favorites here, Arazi and Bertrando, and indeed it is Arazi who is a slight favorite as he takes his place in the starting gate. We're ready for the start in the Juvenile, and they're off, and Bertrando comes out running. Agincourt is right there, and on the outside it's Starry Coot. But it is Bertrando, Alex Solis, intent on the lead, and he wins the race into the first turn. He's there by a length and a half. Starry Coot and Bag in close pursuit. Agincourt saving ground all the way. Devil on Ice was 5 right, rounding the first turn. Showbrook is now racing 6th in between horses. Pine Bluff is under a firm hold at the inside, racing 7th. Big Sur is 8th on the outside. Onlooker is 9th. Try to Watch is 10th. He's about 10 lengths off the lead, and he's launching a bid now from the back of the pack. Then it's Dance Floor. Farther back, Snappy Landing, and Arazi, the European star, is a dozen lengths from the front as Offbeat trails the field as they continue midway down the backstretch. Bertrando coasting on an uncontested lead, and he's moving at a quick pace. The quarter in 23 and 1. He gets a half in 46 and 3/5 seconds. It is still Bertrando out there unchallenged. He leads by 2. Long shot, Agincourt still chasing second. Pine Bluff is only 3 lengths from the lead. Arazi hits his best stride, and there goes the European star, Arazi, and he's coming with a menacing rush to Bertrando, and now the stage is set as they move toward the top of the stretch, and Arazi runs right by him. Arazi with a dramatic move as the field turns for home. He's wide into the stretch. Bertrando stunned at the inside with the move here of Arazi, and he's pouring it on. Just incredible move as they come to the top of the stretch by 4 now. And then it's Bertrando, who is now a discouraged second farther back. It is Snappy Landing, and they're coming down to the finish here. Here indeed is a superstar. Arazi, absolutely brilliant. He was taken under a hard hold to win it here by 5, and he could have won by 10 perhaps. And Bertrando was second. Absolutely sensational.
What a race, and what a horse. The best in the world, the biggest winning margin in the history of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he did it with ease. Can a 2-year-old be Horse of the Year? Arazi now has won 7 in a row and wears the crown as the best 2-year-old in all the world. What a move.
Pat Valenzuela, what does it feel like to ride a horse that goes so fast it looks like everybody else stopped?
Well, to tell you the truth, I was easing him up the last 60 yards in the race, and he has a tremendous turn of foot. He's a very good horse. I think if I'm correct, I think he's a Derby winner of '92. I sure hope so.
Take a look at him on the monitor here, Pat. We'll take a look at you weaving through traffic toward the early portions. He didn't brake too alertly. Was he just kind of green?
Well, they didn't want me to brake him too sharp because they'd be scared he'd be too lane too coarse. But right here, he's just dragging me to the lead. I mean, he's a very good horse. I've never been on a 2-year-old this good.
He's on the wrong
Very
lead.
good horse, exactly.
Is this your Derby mount, Pat?
You bet. This horse, I can almost guarantee you will win the Kentucky Derby.
A little bit of a cut on his left hind foot, just a little greenness in action.
He's just a little green, and he might have nicked himself going by horses, but he's just such a nice horse, and I really want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Paulson for letting me ride this horse. They put me on 2 winners today, and
indeed, you've had a wonderful day, Pat.
Very
Congratulations, a stunning win. Let's get those official prices, Tom.
All right, Jenny, it's scary to think that he can get better as he gets more experience with American racing. Arazi paying $620, $480, and $480. Bertrando, the early pace setter, second. Snappy Landing was third, $22.60.
I think that at this stage, he's the best that I've had. Not the best horse that I've had, but the best 2-year-old at the beginning of September.
I'd love to train Arazi as a trainer. I think for the moment he's the best 2-year-old we've seen in France.
Well, I think Arazi is probably the best 2-year-old I've seen since a long time.
It's very impressive. You know, he's obviously a top-class 2-year-old, and it'll be interesting to see how he trains on next year.
I think Arazi is a tremendous 2-year-old, the best we saw since Super Concorde, and he got a tremendous turn of foot, and I don't think any 2-year-old now in France who can beat him.
One of his races, he really proved that he's got turn of foot for sure. But this was a type of thing. Being so far back with this group, it was thrilling, but when I saw him make his move, you know, he's never really had a whip on him, this horse, either. And I think he's, what I'd say, unbelievable, his performance. And I said in the beginning, if he ran this race well, I would want to bring him back to the Derby, and I would have to say that he ran this race.
And asked him what made him decide to buy a half share in the colt.
I just saw the horse and I loved him, you know. When he was 2 years old, and I thought I'd have a part of him.
You must have really wanted him, though, because you paid a lot of money for him. What made that worth it?
Why you say a lot of money? Maybe now, then it was a good deal. I think it's for both of us, because the right price, and both of us is happy. Anyhow, he worth more now.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said he worth more now than then.
What do you want his future to be, the future of Arazi?
A racing future? Or... Well, I think, you know, owners dream that their horse can win big races, and I think, you know, any owner will be happy and dreaming to have to own a horse will win the Triple Crown. But even it's more better dream to win the most valuable races for the 3 years old, like the Kentucky Derby and the Epsom Derby also, because it hasn't been done before. And we love challenge. So, but what I'm saying is, let us see how he come out the Kentucky Derby, and then decide.
Along with a horde of media were in attendance to see the Kentucky Derby favorite run. From America, Alan Paulson with his wife Madeline, and from Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum, whose maroon and white colors Arazi would carry since this race was being held on European soil. On board, 1978 Triple Crown winning jockey Steve Cawthon, who was riding the Blushing Groom colt for the first time for trainer Francois Bouton. There was no real competition here for Arazi, not a stakes winner in the field, but it would be an impressive performance all the same.
Commandement toujours de Akiko qui est tout à fait en devoir. Carson Beck est à peu près à la même hauteur. Tous les deux devant, on montre encore Arazi qui se rapproche progressivement devant. Voloris qui fait de même avec River Majesty. Pendant que Quadball vient 5e, Super Mec et Starbeam. Il reste 400 mètres à parcourir. Arazi qui est tout à fait en devoir, qui accélère maintenant, vient de prendre une franche longueur sur Super Mec qui est dans son sillage. Alors que River Majesty et Voloris viennent de côté corde. À la distance, Arazi qui prennent 3, 4, même 5 longueurs d'avance sur Super Mec qui est suivi par River Majesty. Avec Arazi qui l'emporte honnêtement, 7 longueurs d'avance sur Super Mec 2e, River Majesty 3e, Voloris 4e.
After 5 months off, Arazi loped home for an effortless win. Most importantly, the knees, which had undergone orthoscopic surgery last November, appeared to be fine. After the race, jockey Steve Cawthon compared Arazi to his 1978 Triple Crown winner, Affirmed.
I've ridden a lot of good horses, but
This is the first horse that I would start to maybe compare with a farm. He's the best horse I've ever ridden.
For trainer Francois Boutin, Arazi had surpassed all expectations.
Non, aujourd'hui, c'est qu'il n'a pas, il s'est pas contracté trop, il s'est bien allongé quand je lui ai demandé.
To stride out, he went very smoothly, and in the end, his action was very good.
Even though it was only a $40,000 race, owner Alan Paulson ranked the victory highly on the Arazi scale.
Well, I guess every race he's run has been a real thrill, and even today, this, not the Kentucky Derby, or it wasn't the Breeders' Cup, but coming back after being laid up this long, he really shows his ability and that he is a champ.
And Paulson was also quick to point out that Arazi's ability was more than just physical.
You know, I've heard from many people that all these great horses have more intelligence too than just a normal horse. And he sure is, for a horse, very intelligent. Somebody said we ought to call him Mr. Edge.
As he departed for Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby, he did so with a weight of expectation that would turn his most ardent American admirers into his fiercest critics and bring retribution on his trainer Francois Boutin that went beyond the call of reason.
The little horse the world has been waiting to see. This is Arazi on the day he must turn reputation into reality.
He was literally just flown back and landed at Heathrow this morning after watching the Kentucky Derby. After seeing that again, John, and seeing it live, what are your thoughts now on Arazi?
Well, my first thought was that he stays a mile really well, and we don't know that he stays any farther, and that suggested that he doesn't stay much farther. And the first thing that Pat Valenzuela said when the microphone was first shoved under his nose was he didn't get home, he didn't stay. Or didn't get home means he didn't stay.
Yeah.
He's altered that and said a lot of other things since. But I don't know, for me, he didn't stay. I do think that with wisdom after the event, he didn't ride a particularly brilliant race on him, because you see they went no gallop up the straight, so why the hell yank back and get in behind them and then have to come all the way round and then pass 16 horses in 2 furlongs.
Here he is. This is when, but Pat Valenzuela said he actually didn't move on him. He's not asking him to quicken. He's just pulling down a set of goggles there, and he's cruising.
I agree. He certainly isn't moving on him. Nevertheless, to pass horses that are going at that rate, at this stage they were covering the quarters in about 25 seconds, and to pass them at that speed, you've got to use up an awful lot of energy. I know that he did it in the 2-year-old race, but he was about a stone in front of the 2-year-olds. He isn't that far, we now know, in front of these 3-year-olds.
Here he comes now, and just as this point, everybody was standing now saying, here comes Arazi, and as soon as he hits the home straight, it's like hitting a brick wall.
It really does seem that the petrol runs out. Something runs out. At this stage, we'll see. It's just after they line up for home. Now, he's gone. He's dead.
Well, what about, let's say nothing away from Lily T, and Pat Day strived for 20 years to win the Derby, and he wins it, but he does use the whip.
Well, yes, he's a born-again Christian, but his feet wouldn't have touched the ground in England if the moment he got off, he would have been in front of...
And Arazi, they've come pretty strongly here. 11-10 on the favourite. Rodrigo de Triano 4-1 against, of course, Azul 11-2. Zahi is 8-1. 2 of them on 25-1. Castadu and Brief Truce. 50-1 from 33s is River Falls, and it's 100-1 Beldy.
Well, 100-1 Beldy. Clive Britton's pulled a few of those off in his time. I just wonder. But they're on the far side in the colours of Sheikh Mohammed is Arazi. I've watched him go down. He's like a piece of elastic. Whereas Rodrigo de Triano, as Tracy was saying, showing a little bit of an edge here when he left the paddock to parade in front of the stands. There he is, the last of the bunch there. He took a fair old hold with Leicester. Leicester popped his head over the rails, got him settled down pretty quickly. Well, he's got him settled there, but you could just see that flick of sweat in between his legs, and I wonder if the Derby has taken its toll on him, and this comes a bit quick. Because Royal Ascot, in fact, is a graveyard for Derby horses. They sometimes come here, horses that run 3rd and 4th, and run in the King Edward, and, well, they're made favourite, and that's the end of them. It takes them quite a long time. People don't really realise how much the Derby at Epsom takes out of a horse. They've eased down nicely. I've had quite a good look at them. John, What's your favourite?
Well, I'd have to go with Arazi, Jimmy. He's taken the parade very well. Rodrigo de Triano was already getting a little bit upset before even leaving the paddock, before the parade started. But Arazi's taken it all in his stride. Maybe the ground's a little bit on the fast side for him. Steve Cawthon riding him for the second time only. Didn't ride him in any of his races as a 2-year-old. Won on him in France. Didn't ride him, of course, in the Kentucky Derby. And the horse runs here in England for the first time today. He's got brilliant speed, so Steve will no doubt be trying to conserve that. Lester Piggott will be doing the same on Rodrigo de Triano. So really, this is one of the most fascinating races we've seen for years. Number 7, Rodrigo de Triano, getting quite warm. He should love the fast ground. They almost broke the course record in the previous race, so I'm sure the ground is riding fast. 4-1 from 7-2, a much bigger price than when the bookmakers opened up the betting on the race last week. They made both the two favourites somewhere near the even money mark, and Rodrigo de Triano right out to 4-1 now, as with both the horses having failed last time out, a lot of people are looking for one to beat the pair of them. Coming back to a mile from a mile and a half. Zahi, fourth in the French 2,000 guineas. He previously just got beaten by Jeune up at Thirsk. That looked disappointing at the time. He started favourite and was expected to win, but Jeune came and ran away with the predominant stakes at Goodwood. Zahi, having run fourth in the French Guineas, then won the Diomed Stakes at Epsom in very good style, beating Mysterioso, who runs in our opening race tomorrow, the Jersey Stakes. Zahi is the best turned out horse. Ken Roberts gets £100.
And a brief postscript to the Prince of Wales Stakes. We hear that Warren O'Connor has been suspended 6 days for his riding of Kuyonga for careless riding and causing interference to Young Buster, also for excessive use of the whip. Warren O'Connor banned for 6 days.
That's it. They're all in. And they're away. Rodrigo de Triano just dwelt a tiny bit in the stalls, and going on in the early stages, Zahi with Beldi in the early stages. Zahi on the inside of Beldi, then comes Azud, then Brief Truce on the outside, Castadou's just in behind, then Rodrigo de Triano is the back marker, River Falls, 2 from last and 1 from last to Arazi. And still Zahi making it from on the outside. Beldi tucked in behind is Azud, Big Truce on the outside, Castadou comes next, then Arazi, then River Falls, and then Rodrigo de Triano, the back marker, as they race now towards the 5 furlong marker. And Zahi still the leader from Beldi. Behind Beldi is Azud, and then Brief Truce on the outside, Castadou, then Arazi, River Falls, and Rodrigo de Triano. Half a mile from home now, and as they pass the half-mile pole, it's Zahi the leader from Beldi. Behind Beldi is Azud, then Brief Truce, then Castadou. Arazi poised just in behind Castadou. Rodrigo de Triano still last as they swing into the home stretch now with 2.5 furlongs to run, and it's Zahi the leader from Azud. Then comes Beldi on the outside, Brief Truce, Castadou putting in a good run. Arazi's been switched to the outside, Rodrigo de Triano also. It's Zahi in the lead over on the far rails. Here comes Rodrigo de Triano towards the stand side under Lester Piggott. Over on the far side, Zahi, but Rodrigo de Triano finishing fast on the near side. Zahi as they race up towards the line from Brief Truce and Rodrigo, and Brief Truce and Zahi have passed it together from Azud and Rodrigo de Triano and Arazi. It's a photo finish between Zahi on the far side and Brief Truce on the near side. A dramatic climax to this St. James's Palace Stakes, with the judge calling for a photo between Brief Truce, number 3, owned by Moyglaire Stud Farms, trained by Dermot Weldon Ireland and ridden by Michael Kinane, and Zahi, owned by Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum, trained by Tom Jones and ridden by Richard Hills. And these two have ultimately distanced the remainder, with Azud probably just third ahead of Rodrigo de Triano, who came with a run towards the stand side, but who petered out very quickly inside the final furlong.
I was very pleased with the way my horse was. He'd worked very well last week, and he's a lovely colt. He's an improving horse, and I said, if you're not in, you can't win, and we'd have a crack.
But he had, what, 2.5 lengths to make up on Rodrigo de Triano on the Irish Guineas form, and I suppose the blinkers must have helped you a bit.
Yes, but my colt is an improving horse. We had a wet spring in Ireland. He'd been running in yielding ground. He improved well to win the Gallinools, again on yielding ground, and got his ground today. He's improving, and I thought Rodrigo ran an excellent race, but you must remember he's been to Epsom.
Well, it was a terrific race to watch, and you must have been on your toes when they came past the two, and you've come with a great chance here to win.
Yes, that's exactly the way we planned it. Michael always wanted to sit handy, and that's what he did. He was in the ideal position to challenge, and it was just a question of whether he was going to get up here. The only reason I put the blinkers on the colt is just he's a lazy, laid-back horse, and I just wanted to sharpen him a little bit, and I think that's just what it did for us.
He's needed the last stride to win, and of course his last run was 1.25 miles, so he stays well.
Yeah, he does. He wants every yard of a mile. I suppose really 1.1 miles is his optimum distance, but an Ascot mile is a stiff mile, and he's put up a superb performance today.
Well, you've got a great jockey in Michael Kinane, and a lot of people have been trying to get him off you, but I should think at moments like these he's pleased that he stayed with you.
Yeah, Michael and I have had a great relationship. We've won a lot of races, a lot of big races all over the world, and I enjoy having him, and I think he enjoys riding for me. Michael is a beautiful hands and heels rider, and most of my horses are ridden that way. He had to give that horse a crack or two to win today, and the stewards are asking him about the use of his whip, but I'd like to say Michael has never, to my knowledge, been suspended for use of the whip, and he's just a very strong, good and brilliant rider.
Well, I can tell you that they have accepted his explanation of his use of the whip, so no action will be taken. And of course, Dermot, you've won a classic race in Europe already this year.
Yes, we won the Italian Derby 2 weeks ago, and our horses are running extremely well.
Where do you think you'll go with this fellow now?
Well, Julian, today was the day. And it'll be hard to better today when you beat two of the best horses in the world in Arazi and Rodrigo, but you know, we'll give him a rest, we'll review it, we'll look at the Sussex Stakes, and we'll look at the Breeders' Cup, obviously, later in the year.
And now, at last, Arazi. So much has gone wrong with last year's little wonder horse since he blew out in the heat of the Kentucky Derby. That it's something of a sporting wonder that he showed up today at all. His target was the Prix de Rondpoix. There were 10 opponents, including 5 from Britain. Arazi had to win this to prove that the dream hadn't died.
So it's Mojave in the blue colours leading. At this stage, Arazi is in about 5th place off the rails and well placed as they make their final turn. Head for home now, and it's Mojave, the white cap, the rail. In the dark blue colours, Dampierre with a run. Arazi's sneaking through now, gets a view on the front, and his acceleration takes him into a lead. And it's Arazi now going on with a furlong and a half to go. It's Arazi who goes 2 to 3 clear of Lucky Lindy, calling collect, and he just on the outside. But this is Arazi back to his best now, coming 5 clear as they race up towards the line, and it's Arazi clear of the others who are toiling in his wake, and Arazi annihilates them up towards the line. Arazi and Steve Cawthon, Hardhill are the winners. A photo for second between Calling Collect and Al-Hijaz, and then came Lucky Lindy, followed home by Acte Francais, and then Dampierre and Tikvar, and behind Tikvar
Arazi magnifique, and look at that price, 2 francs 20, 6 to 5 favourite, 1 franc 70 for the place. Calling collect, 2 francs 20. Al Hijaz, 4 francs 70. The forecast, 12 francs 20. The trio, 109 francs 20. And Arazi, back to the glory days, goes for the Breeders' Cup Mile at Gulfstream on October the 31st.
This is the home of the astonishing Arazi, who was rated Europe's champion 2-year-old of 1991 by no less than £8. Of course, Arazi was also rated America's champion 2-year-old following his breathtaking victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, in which he came home nearly 5 lengths clear of Bertrando, a horse who recently took the Grade 1 Woodward Stakes by no less than 13.5 lengths. Arazi has matured very well, and he achieved over 90% fertility with his 47 mares in his first season. He's already full for 1994. It's Arazi, who carries such high hopes at Dalham Hall Stud, underwent emergency surgery for colic on the night of July the 10th. Fortunately, a displacement of the large bowel and a twist of the small bowel was corrected without any gut having to be removed, and Arazi was soon back at Dalham Hall.
Well, the bus is pulling out, and I guess I'd better go before I make a grave mistake and let my feelings show. And 20 miles away, she waits alone for me. But when I try to picture her, you're the one I see. And in another situation I could put up a fight, but you will be my downfall tonight. So the night is coming down, drowning us in blue, and it all points toward the things we